So I want to read a story then called Woman with Dog. This is a coherent, simple story. I mean, not a simple story, but it's not anything other than a story. Most of this is full of things that are not quite stories or stories plus something else, but this is just a straightforward story. An honest story of what never happened. Like all of fact is fiction, isn't it? I keep being fascinated, as some of you know, by the fact that fact and fiction have the same root, both that which is made. But we tend to distinguish them by whether we assume God made them or history made them, on the one hand, calling them fact, and fiction that we make them how it turns. But the making is the important thing. Anyway, this is Woman with Dog. But hands were still holding her waist, tight as ever, so how could she be alone? Tentatively, she squirmed to see if she could free herself from the grasp, but the hands held firm. But she heard the voice again in her mind. Do you want me to let you go? And she knew that was the last thing she wanted. No, don't let me go. That is a good decision, it seemed to say. It's when you're looking that you can't find. You found the dog without looking for it. The dog, she wondered. The dog is your third star, a hot red star that burns its way towards you. All day you see it play around your feet, or its candle power quenched, snooze at the foot of your bed in the night. That is because you take it for granted, that quiet, lovely way people have with animals, and that stars have with us. Luquette is really the star around which you move. You are the third planet out from that brightness, and the third planet is always the Earth. I am the Earth, she thought, with a dull, quiet, comfortable feeling. But then some skepticism roused in her. How can she be a dog and a star, be asleep at my feet and burning in the sky? If I'm the third planet out, where are the other two? But the voice did not answer her. She kept still and thought about it, tried counting things. Maybe the numbers mean something in themselves. Maybe they're not just imaginary ideas used for counting real things. Maybe there's really something like two-ness, three-ness, oneness. Then she started worrying, am I just a satellite of my dog? Just something that turns around that center? Is the sun my master? I hate this earth business. Sometimes it's horny earth that needs heat and light and love. I hate this loud and bossy sun. Then the voice was speaking again, cutting through all her feelings. I am the fourth star, it said. It spoke out loud, and the sound of the voice was shocking, but what it said was even more surprising. But I thought the stars were in my bag, in my grasp. Open your hands, it suggested. She looked down and saw that all this while her hands had been clenched and ached now with the tension of that pressure. Why was she holding tight? She felt her palms warm and red and full of discomfort, and suddenly splayed out her fingers fast. Instantly the pressure around her waist and hips disappeared. It was as if she had been holding herself, then let herself go. Are you there? Are you really anybody? The voice spoke just as calmly as before. Yes, of course I'm here. It's not in your hands you hold yourself. Where am I then, if not in your hands? I have no hands yet. Not until you give them to me. Oh, this is all too much, she said. Or thought she said. This is too much, too vague, too many numbers, too many things happening or not happening. All my life I thought there were things I needed, and places I needed to go to, and people I needed to have near me. But every time I claim anything here, you tell me I'm wrong. I never said you were wrong, the voice said. You are far from wrong, and you understand perfectly well that constellations of the mind are what we're talking about. We're not talking about things and places and people. I'm not a people. I'm not an interesting place you can go to, like Africa or Brazil. I'm tired of all this. I just want to lie down in my bed. she thought. And then she thought, this is like making love forever and never coming. It seems all beautiful and lyrical and forever, and then after a while it just seems tired and irritating. I want to come, she thought. It felt stern inside her. It felt as if a judgment had been passed. It felt as if her heart were frowning. But the voice was just as mild and kindly as before. If you came, then you'd have to be somewhere, and then you'd have to go. This is not a rhythm that has an end. Where you are now, you think of it as floating, and floating means not here and not there, not going and not coming. It's just an image or an idea to show you how you are. Aren't I in the sky, though? We're all in the sky. At those words, she felt a sudden swoon of vertigo, so sudden that she closed her eyes against it the way we do when we have to deny the world outside just to be faithful to the mind we are. Vertigo, and then it just as suddenly stopped. She felt a hard pressure under her elbows, and she opened her eyes. It took her a moment to grasp that she was in a window, leaning on the sill, her own bedroom, leaning on her elbows on the windowsill, and her neck was stiff from looking up into the blank sky while her body was bending down. She lowered her head, and there was the lawn in front of her with her dog looking up at her. Am I the moon she's going to bark at, she thought. She looked further down and saw her nightgown, the little pale beige stain at the waistline where the wine spilled last night, golden wine from Hungary, so sweet, tasting like valleys in shadow, golden shadows. She was conscious of disappointment, a quiet kind of shock, to be back here in her bedroom. Where are the stars I cared so much about? Around she turned and looked back into the gloom of the bedroom. Her husband was asleep, curled into a gentle question mark beneath the white woolen blankets. Across the middle of his body lay outspread, rising and falling a little with his breathing, a faded red brocade they had bought in North Africa. I follow this everywhere, she thought, even here, even to this strange destination, my own house. And would she still be able to hear that voice inside her? If it was inside, did she want to hear it? Whether or not she did, the voice was speaking in her already. You think your husband is a star? Star number 5? That's up to you to decide. She walked over the smooth, cold, polished floor and sought the relief of the furry rug by the bedside. She looked down at her sleeping husband's face. Why does everybody look the same when they're asleep? That had always haunted her, as if sleep were one same country we all live like equals in, and everybody is the same there, same face, same expression. She studied his face, trying to see how he was different from every other sleeper. He's only different when he's awake, she thought. Tenderness for him flowed in her, but the voice was speaking. That is the single mystery of sleep, to teach us to wake up. She spoke out loud, trying to answer the voice. We're only different when we're awake. Only after we've awakened are we who we really are. Off her shoulder, she let the nightgown slip and slide to the floor. Then she stood in the cold morning light, shivering a little.